Nicholson, visiting from Florida. Olivia is 10 years old, and she is very intrigued at what's going on down here, and happy to have her in the chamber. This morning, I'm joined by a number of folks who are passionate about housing the homeless and are eager to be part of and are already working with the City of Houston in our initiative to end chronic homelessness in Houston. I have Spiro Patrices, Wells Fargo Home Mortgage Area Sales Manager, Richard Torres, Wells Fargo Community Affairs Manager, Viola Solomon, Wells Fargo Home Mortgage, Helen Bowe, Wells Fargo Communications Manager, Alan Watkins, Wells Fargo Community Development Officer, Mandy Chapman-Simple, Special Assistant to the Mayor for Homelessness Initiatives, and Marilyn Brown of Coalition for the Homeless as well. I made a commitment almost 2 years ago, and I made it publicly as part of my inaugural speech on my re-election, to address homelessness head-on. And I'm proud to announce that we have made extraordinary progress in a short period of time. We've made progress because I set a clear agenda. We had a great team of partners ready to go, and we have added the missing elements to move the issue of homelessness forward. I started with Sobering Center for the City of Houston, and I want to again, as I always do, thank Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez for bringing the issue of the Sobering Center and the idea of the Sobering Center to my attention so that I could move the ball forward. We also worked on affordable housing development, finding more and more opportunities for folks on the margins of being able to afford home ownership to actually have home ownership, with more than 1,400 housing units for the homeless. And then in homeless services, over the last 4 years, we have administered more than $24 million for homeless services. But last May, we took a challenge, and that was, could we house homeless veterans by bringing resources to bear that had not been available in the past, and by utilizing existing resources and the attention that the VA was paying to the issue of chronically homeless veterans. And we started with a very modest goal, but it was part of a national challenge. Could we house 100 chronically homeless veterans in 100 days? We beat it by one. We housed 101. And we just kept going. We had another 100 and another 100. And by the end of a 1 year period, we had housed more than 500 chronically homeless veterans in permanent supported housing. So at the end of last year, as we began to see the success we were having with putting all these resources together, we had a true coalition willing to work together in new ways to make things happen, and that was the City of Houston and Harris County. Houston and Harris County Housing Authority, Coalition for the Homeless, homeless service agencies, the philanthropic community, homeless consumers, the VA, and other agencies. From this collaboration and seeing the results of the collaboration in our efforts on veterans, we came together and said, yes, we're gonna end chronic homelessness in Houston by 2016. Now I like to say 2015, and they know that's rather aggressive, and there's a reason I'm saying 2015, because I won't be mayor in 2016. We intend to get it done before then. However, the team goal is ending chronic homelessness by 2016. In order to, as I said, make the finishing touches on this plan, we had to add into the missing pieces. So one was naming a special assistant for homeless initiatives, which is Mandy Chapman-Simple. Empowering the directors of the city's Housing and Community Development Department and the Health and Human Services Department to prioritize funding for housing for homeless or potentially homeless individuals. And then establishing this further as a priority within my Office of Economic Development. So So all of our efforts combined have enabled us to house nearly 1,100 chronically homeless and vulnerable individuals and families in permanent supportive housing in just 16 months. Permanent supportive housing is the key. It's nationally recognized as the model for how you deal with homelessness. It's not about putting someone who has been chronically homeless in a housing unit, making sure that housing unit is paid for, and walking away. Many of the chronically homeless have substance abuse issues, they have mental health issues, they have other challenges that make it difficult for them to cope in an unstructured environment. So those wraparound services are an important piece of it. Our goal is to create 2,500 additional units of permanent supportive housing by 2016. Now, why is that 2,500 number important? Because that's how many chronically homeless individuals there are on the streets of Houston, roughly. I'm pleased to announce that we're almost halfway there with over 1,200 units in the pipeline. Additionally, we're going to be releasing an RFP very soon for the development of another 600 units. When setting the goal, we knew we were going to need a lot of support from corporations, banks, private investors, private foundations. And I am particularly pleased to stand with all these representatives of Wells Fargo to say that they have joined our call for action, and they are making 2 grants totaling $760,000 to 2 nonprofit organizations working to implement our system to end chronic homelessness. The first is a $450,000 grant to the Corporation for Supportive Housing to support the creation of our 2,500 units of permanent supportive housing. And the second is a $310,000 grant to the Coalition for the Homeless of Houston-Harris County to create and implement programs that will rapidly return homeless individuals and families to stable housing. While these grants are not directed at actual creation of the housing units, they are absolutely critical to be able to implement the building of housing units. And I cannot thank Wells Fargo enough for stepping up and being a part of this. Together we can end homelessness in Houston and ensure that every homeless individual and family has an appropriate housing option and a safety net. I cannot say that there won't be people who will reject everything that we try to do, but I can say that by the time we get to the end of this process, no one will be on the streets of Houston because they don't have any other choice or any other option, and I'm proud of that. So therefore, I want to invite Mr. Patresis of Wells Fargo Homeless to come forward and talk about the plan.